Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and hop in. So we're looking at Street Fighter 2010, one of the most wrongfully maligned games of its time, let alone of 2010. By Capcom, 1990. I think it's a really easy game to dunk on, is the problem. That's half the problem. Because of the ridiculous title, Street Fighter 2010, and they added the final fight for the overseas release just to make it extra goofy. Keep in mind, though, this is important. At the time that this came out, Street Fighter 2 wasn't out, so all Street Fighter was Street Fighter 1, and then Final Fight, which was supposed to be a Street Fighter game. And then they decided not to make it a Street Fighter game. But then it became a hit. So I guess they tried to cram that title in too. But they didn't really know what Street Fighter was yet. They had one game that was like kind of popular. It had the weird pressure sensitive buttons that you had to punch. And it didn't really have most of the hallmarks that the series is known for because of Street Fighter 2. And I think they were still sort of finding their feet with the series, and so I just translated like a buttload of different interviews with Akiman, who was one of the original character designers for Street Fighter, and he talks frequently about how there was a dramatic shift in tone and in the setting between Street Fighter 1 and 2, where it went from this sort of gritty, like ugly world full of like grimdark dudes beating each other up to like this kind of cartoony, like he uses the English word entertainment a lot. Like he says that they shifted toward like entertainment value when they came up with Chun-Li. And it's maybe sort of a sexist view, but his idea was that once you put like a tiny woman into the roster, it no longer became about this like gross, like gritty world of dudes beating each other up. And I think what he's getting at is that this originally stemmed from like this sort of post-apocalyptic media that was big at the time, like the Mad Maxes and the Fists of the North Star. And then they went for sort of a more lighthearted thing with like some characters that didn't necessarily fit in with that idea, but they were more fun and interesting and entertaining. And that's also how you ended up with characters like Blanca and E Honda. But before that, I think that a game like this, which is very much that sort of grim dystopian worldview, it made a little more sense. Also, it's notable that in the Western release, they changed some of the story elements so that the main character is Ken from the original Street Fighter, who again, this was before his Street Fighter 2 iteration, so he wasn't quite as fleshed out, but that wasn't even the case in the Japanese version of the game. I didn't even mean to start this yet, but whatever. So there really wasn't much of a Street Fighter brand yet. And if you look at his character design, he looks almost exactly like the Forgotten Worlds characters. And also kind of like Captain Commando, who would come, I think that was a little later. I'm not sure about that. But anyway, so by the time most people saw this game, it was after Street Fighter 2 had come out, and so it was this silly thing. And I think that was even the case for me. I forget when we got this. Like, we did have it back when we had an NES, but it was, I do remember kind of scoffing at the time, but then being pleasantly surprised that it was still kind of stood on its own merits. And that said, if you do like a YouTube search for this game, the top results are Angry Video Game Nerd, like just totally dunking on the game for how it's whatever, it shits dicks, it dicks shits, his brand of humor. But the problem is that's like all there is. Like that's the only thing about this game that exists on YouTube, really. And yeah, I think he's doing a shtick, and his whole thing is being an angry video game nerd. So he's not really there to find the good in the games necessarily. He's doing this character, but I think that as a sort of unintended side effect, a lot of people sort of take that at face value and are like, oh, it's a crappy game. But something that I noticed when I watched his videos is that he misses a lot of important things, namely that backflip move, this right here, just got me killed. That's like an integral mechanic that informs the design of the whole game, because this is like maybe the earliest case I can think of a dodge move with iframes. But it's actually really generous. You do this long backflip, you have iframes for almost the entire duration of the move. So that's actually your primary defensive maneuver. You can jump right through anything. And then he touches on the move briefly in the video because it's the only way you can shoot down. But that's all he says about it. He's like, there's some aerial move that you have to do to shoot down. But that's part of what's interesting about this game, is that you technically have omnidirectional shooting with your like, you do these punches and kicks that shoot crap. But each direction that you shoot in, it's not like in like Contra where you can just point in that direction. You have specific moves for each direction. So there's an element of what's the word, like, I guess strategy, where you have to, like, if you want to shoot diagonally up, you have to do this kick, which is slow. So you kind of have to pick your moments, and sometimes you have to reposition before you can afford to do that. And with shooting down, because you can only shoot down by doing a backflip, it's like, it's a skill-based thing. It's much more skill-based than shooting down in Contra, or a game where you can just shoot in any direction. You also got this heavy punch combo, which does more damage, but it's slower. And then if you just spam attack, you have a super fast, like Strider style, as fast as you can hit the button shot, but it's not as strong. Okay, so this is the other thing that I find very interesting about this game, is that it does a really good job of sort of keeping you in this state of high pressure, because first of all, every stage is either a duel or like an arena where you're surrounded by lots of threats and you have to like constantly move around and like be very acrobatic to stay alive. And then what you're actually trying to do in each level is get that thing I just got that fills the meter at the bottom that says open, and that opens a portal, and then the meter starts trickling down, and you only have that long to get to the portal, or I guess you die. And so there's sort of this frantic, like first it's like this sort of survival horde mode thing, and then there's this frantic dash to get to the portal in time before it closes, and you only have a few seconds. So there's always a sense of pressure, except that they have those little like in-between interstitial like transition rooms, which give you a little bit of a breather, which I think is important in a game that's this demanding. So there's an interesting pacing to the whole thing that I think sets it apart. You know, it's with the exception of these auto-scrolling stages, mostly it's not a game about walking to the right. It's an open arena, and you have the whole arena to move around in, and you're gonna need to use it. Like, you have to move around constantly because everything is so, like, you're so overwhelmed by enemies. The jump shot that I'm doing there also is one of his stronger attacks, so it's another tactical move that you have to figure out when you only have enough time for like one quick jump shot, but then like jumping incurs its own risk because you have to land in the right place. And then meanwhile, you grab these power-ups that extend the range of your shots. And it's like Gradius or any of those shoot 'em ups where it's sort of momentum based. You keep any power-ups you get for as long as you're alive, but once you die, you lose everything, and then you got an uphill battle. So like, it's in your best interest. I guess it goes without saying, but it's in your best interest to stay alive, not only because that's the whole point, is to not die, but also because you get to hold on to all your upgrades. And you get, in addition to the shot extenders, there are options, like in Gradius, that just kind of hover by you and do damage. And then you get this thing that makes it so your backflip does damage, which is actually super useful, because that means that you can play offense and defense at the same time in a single move. So it's actually a really thoughtful action game with a lot of nuance to the mechanics. You know, you have quite a few moves, and like in a fighting game, they each have their own sort of strengths and weaknesses. It's like a fighting game character's normals. Oh shit. You know, you've got your heavy punch, your light punch. Then another thing that the angry video game nerd talks about angrily is that you press down in attack to do a diagonal upshot. But what that is you're pressing down in attack because he's kicking, and the shot follows the trajectory of his limbs in all cases. That's why he's doing these like heavy hook punches, and they have this curvature to them, and that gets more pronounced as your shots get upgraded. But the kick, so the reason you press down to shoot up is because what you're actually doing is pressing down to use the lower half of his body. So like, when I play this game, I feel like they were ahead of their time. They were designing games for 2010. And I think most people just missed it because it had a goofy name, and like many Capcom games, it doesn't really explain itself very well. But definitely worth revisiting. It's also because it's got that sort of arena/duel structure. It's almost a boss rush game, kind of like Alien Soldier, which is pretty uncommon for the NES. I can't really think of a lot of games like that. Okay. So, I think I have this down. It's definitely a game where it pays to just know what's coming. Because that fight can be very grueling if you don't know where he's gonna be. But once you know he spawns on that platform, it's basically a free fight. So this is another interstitial stage, and they slowly start adding threats to these areas. But I really like these because I think that this game. Another cool thing about this game is it has a very unusual like vibe to it. It's got this sort of dark sci-fi surrealist vibe, and those sort of in-between stages really. I don't like. Obviously, it's primitive, but like I always thought it was very like it stimulated the imagination really well. You just have these bizarre, like abstract art paintings. It's like he's like in between dimensions. And this music kind of reflects that too. It's really bizarre. Like, it doesn't really sound like a lot of other Capcom games. I'm not sure who composed this one. So this is an example of a stage where you have to move around a lot, or it's really easy to get overwhelmed. It's best to not linger. Like, even if there's like a power-up you're trying to get, sometimes you've got to move on and come back to it. And I don't think that the power-ups disappear over time, which is another like very friendly thing that this game does that was not to be taken for granted back then. I don't even know what that power-up is. So in this one, these little jet guys give you those power-ups you need to escape. So there's the portal. And I'm out. And we're back between dimensions. That's another thing, is like by and large this is a pretty reasonable game in terms of it's very hard, but first of all, you have infinite continues. Second, it's mostly really generous with the checkpoints in that you know, the levels are not that long, especially once you like, they feel longer when you don't know what's coming, but once you have them figured out, they're actually, you know, each like in the realm of like a minute or two. In fact, you've got that time limit at the bottom. That actually is a factor in this game. You can run out of time at a couple moments. Like a lot of NES games had timers and it was just not really a factor, but in this one it is. But if you die, it's not really going to send you back that far. And you can try as many times as you want, which was super uncommon in those days. Something I appreciate a lot, because that was... I've become very vocal about games wasting your time, and it used to kind of be assumed that they would, because it was sort of a holdover from arcade design. Ah, shit. Ah! That guy's tricky. You have to jump shot him, I think, but he's a little bit hard to reach. There's a couple moments. I played through most of this yesterday, and there's a couple moments where I might save scum just a little. Not really save scum, but like use save states anyway, just to like there's sort of a boss rush at the end, and it gets a little brutal because well, because it's brutal. Alright, that was just me being careless. Oof. This game also has a very interesting climbing system that I think eludes people for a while. The way it works is when you jump toward a wall or a vine or whatever, if you hold jump, he'll cling to the surface. But if you don't hold jump, he'll just fall. And you can kind of use that discerningly to like fall, like if you want to not, whoops, if you want to not cling right away, if you want to cling to a specific spot that's lower, you can sort of do a controlled fall and then cling. It's like very manual. I think, you know, in a lot of games, I think players that don't know this game, they might expect it to behave differently, where if you jump to a thing that's clingable, you automatically cling to it. And I remember being frustrated that it didn't work that way until I realized that they do it this way so that you have more control, which is what you want in an action game. So I applaud them. And it's I feel like action game designers are always trying to reinvent the wheel, but that's kind of what makes action games interesting, right? They live and die by their mechanics, so I appreciate stuff like that. I feel like I wasn't having trouble here at all yesterday, and I lost it. Ah. There we go. See, that's one of those cases where you want to do a controlled fall, because as soon as you're under these flying things, oh shit, that was just a button slip. They can't touch you. Incidentally, there's zero difference between a death and a continue in this game, or a death and a game over. It's like they were starting to realize that there was no point in having finite lives, but they're like, let's just do it anyway. It's tradition. And like games like Alien Soldier, it does a really good job of placing you in a wide, like a diverse variety of situations, with a relatively simple tool set. Like I feel like they mined the mechanics really well. And also they reuse assets pretty effectively, like those portal rooms, like the in-between rooms, it's just the same background every time, but it kind of never feels stale to me. It feels like it makes sense within the context of the game that you would keep coming back to the same like limbo space. Oh, shouldn't have done that. I'm in a good spot though. I'm in a very good spot. Okay, now you can see how much it arcs. Oof. When I kick now, it's like almost full crescent. Oof. Yay. And we're back. Okay, freebie. Even if you die in those portal rooms, they don't send you back to the previous level. You just repeat the portal room. Okay, this is another acrobatic stage. Oop. I hope I don't bork it because I'm in a good place with the power-ups. Give me the eyeball things. Oof. Oh god. Ah. Should have done a light punch. And it is like the thought process is weirdly akin to a Street Fighter. It's like just like discerning the safety of your different strengths of attacks, and like the importance of hitboxes, and like using iframes and stuff. Like, oof. Angry Video Game Nerd compared it. He said it feels more like Mega Man, but that's a surface level thing. It actually doesn't feel very much like Mega Man at all. I mean, I guess I never played Street Fighter 1, but I'm sure it was like this. Alright, here we go. God! See, there's like this post-fight phase where it's still really dangerous, and you're like frantically trying to find the portal. Sometimes it's off screen and you have to actually hunt for it a little bit, and so you can get yourself killed even though you already like accomplished the main goal. Oops. Oh god. Oof. See how much invincibility there is on that? It's like super important. I should have done it then. Hey, Jeff of Valis, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, it is excellent. Like it's one of those games where I feel compelled to sing its praises as often as possible, because I feel like it's sort of this laughing stock, but it's really good, and I think it fits right in with, you know, a lot of the sort of like the games that are like the sort of action game canon, I guess, with like hardcore action players. Like it does a lot of the same things that games like Alien Soldier and you know, these sort of timeless action hits do. It's a bummer that it has such a silly title. But I mean, this isn't not what 2010 was like. As I recall. Okay. This is one of those stages I don't feel like I quite had figured out. I kind of stumbled my way through it. It's one of the harder stages. Those drips, those flying things, and you gotta fight those flying things without busting up the columns too much. Oof. Don't think I'm hitting him. There we go. Oh. What do I do? I forget how I did this. You just have to be facing the other way? Man, they just come one after another. There's really no quiet, like no downtime. Oof. Man, they're at the perfect height where I can't really do anything. Oof. Okay, that's definitely hitting him. lot of these bosses, they don't really have a ton of health, so it's almost more like a puzzle of figuring out how to get in. And once you get in, you're kind of like you've got them downloaded, and it's like they don't belabor like how much time you have to spend on execution. Oof. Oof. Ah. Oh man. Ah. Yes. Ah. There we go. Ugh. Good lord. Man, I've never gotten this far and not just killed him. Man. It's just a lot of like splitting up your attention. Ow. Alright. I never noticed these columns aren't like his eye isn't centered between them. This one's closer to his eye. There we go. This has to do it. There we go. Keep it up there. There's the other eye. Planet Sand Dune. Okay, so this is where you really have to learn the flip. Oops. Or get bitten by these little chihuahua fish. Okay, so I got the flip upgrade. So stylish. So now I can kick him, and it does pretty good damage. And if you sort of finagle your trajectory, you can hit him multiple times. You see? So it's actually good, this game. Oops. You're not completely invincible. Just... Oh, man. What up, Brelston? I don't think Willow would be the same without a co-pilot. But this, let me tell you, this is some quality action. Like, I think they should switch back to this trajectory for Street Fighter. I feel like 5 is kind of done. Ha! Dude, quit camping. Ah! There we go. Ah! User error. Ah. Oh man, I thought I could slide under that. Not slide, but walk under it. Yeah, I think it was whenever this came out on the 3DS eShop. I forget if that was 2014 or 2015. I think it was 14. But it just felt like I think at first I had remembered it as sort of this novelty of my youth, but then I actually like revisited it because we were promoting it for Capcom, and I was like, oh, this is legit good. Oh shoot, did I miss the kickflip? Oh, there we go. But yeah, it's classic Capcom where like you can miss core mechanics even if you play it for hours. But then when someone tells you like one thing, you're like, oh, this is actually one of the best games. Didn't realize that. Ah, oh man, it looked like it should have hit. Ah! Look how much you can adjust the trajectory of that flip. Like, it's super high utility. Oof, man, I didn't mean to do that, but I think it saved me. Gah. All right. Boom, we out. Thanks, man. Thanks for dropping in. I just, like, there's something very exciting about the, like, fade out aspect of every, like, you have to evacuate every stage. I just think that's cool. And it was like a sort of a innovative touch. Okay, this level is a weird one. You gotta fight a mummy guy. Oop! It's like a mummy pig. Okay. Okay, I'm in... Oh, no! I forgot about those. I was just about to say I'm in great shape because I almost had a full power-up gauge thing. Ah, whoa! Oh man, does that have iframes? You can switch sides? I guess it kind of makes sense that you'd be dodging by not being on the same plane as the enemy anymore. But that's a thoughtful touch. They didn't have to do that. Okay, this guy is tricky because of the floor situation. I think you want to give him one of these and then just pray that he doesn't spawn where you are. And then, yeah, I find that these guys really whittle down your timer because it's hard to hit them. Oof. Ah! Not like this. That was good. Ah! Thought he'd back off. Okay, we got this. All I'm saying is they should remake this game with fancy new graphics and give him modern Ken moves. But keep the backflip. Give him the Shinryuken. That fancy new Tatsumaki where he like kicks a lot. Ow. One thing I've never seen is any interviews about this game specifically. And I'm dying to know what the thought process really was. Like, how did you go from Street Fighter 1 to this? All I can do is speculate based on other interviews. Ugh. Yay! Kind of helps to move around, actually. Oh shit. Ooh. These guys are actually semi-friendly. They'll let you ride on top. Oh shit. But this is... Ah! I killed the wrong one! I guess you don't... Maybe you don't need to kill either, I forget. Oh, it was a time over. Oh yeah, because the portal... Let's see. There's your timer, and then there's your portal timer. Oh, I guess they... Oh god, they got me again. I didn't notice that. The timer changes when the portal is open. Man, I feel like I did this effortlessly last night. There it is. Okay, we're back in this place. Now you got this freaky sand monster and his friend. Ow. Alright, this isn't going well. The trick here is that the centipede respawns if you kill it. So you want to whittle it down to just the head and then let it be. I believe that was a reference to Street Fighter 1. Yes. Oh god. There it is. Stay back. And then I kind of don't remember what you do with this guy. You just gotta wait for him to pop up. Oof. He's hard to hit though. Oof. No, I got lucky there. Oof. Oof. There we go. See, he's light. I mean, he doesn't have a lot of health. Oh, shh. It's close. I don't even really know what this is supposed to be. But I feel like there were a lot of these sand waterfalls in NES games. I'm just trying to imagine playing this game without the backflip. It seems like... Of course you would hate it. Ah, I needed that head. There we go. Oh crap. Ah. I'm getting too hasty. Okay. Ah. Man, it's so hard to get in shots that it's hard not to get a little greedy when you do. Especially since you're cascading toward oblivion. Alright, I think yesterday I did more of a... did more moving around. Oosh. That's the stuff. Ah, that works. Whew. Oh, what was that? I think that was the option. They pick a weird time to throw that at you. I think it's the first time that shows up in the game. Oof. Good lord. I'm having trouble. Oh. What? Sweet. Oof. Oh man, I was gonna get that thing. This thing looks kind of friendly, doesn't it? It's like a little toady guy. Don't be fooled. Is that even hitting him? Alright. Not sure there's much benefit to that. Maybe. Nope. Ah. Yes. Yeah, I guess if you're going for a 1cc. Ah. Ah. Man, dirty trick. Ah! Should have just ridden that thing. Maybe I should just hang out on here. Yep. Sometimes the solution is like super easy when you just know where things are gonna be. This one's kind of a pain. It's weird. Ah. Ah, man, those things have a way of hitting you no matter what. So I think what you want to do is camp out here as long as possible. Worth it. Because they try to trick you with the scrolling. It's not even really clear what's killing you. The screen is killing you. Here we go. Like at some point you have to go right, but there's like a fake out where, yeah, like you can actually stay left still. Okay, now I think I need to go. Took a long time to figure that out yesterday. Oh. Okay. Is this like the ruins of a submarine or something? I can't even really tell what this is supposed to be. Okay, now, as I recall, the boss himself is not that bad, but I may eat those words. He's not too bad. There he goes. Yeah, but that's another example of them like really getting a lot of mileage out of like the game's mechanics. Like that was a pretty unique scenario. I hate this mummy guy. Never know where to be. Nice. Okay, oh, this guy. This is another really clever stage, though. Those things will pull you under the ice, and then there's a whole underwater area. And you can jump back up at any time, but you can also strategically get pulled under the ice to get more power-ups and stuff. So you can actually max out your gauge that way here, which I may or may not have the patience to do. But you gotta fight this fish man again. He's kind of a giant pain in the ass. Ah. You know, I feel like it's not worth it. This guy's tricky. Maybe not. Oh no! That thing still comes for you. Oh, I was a little off. Ugh. See, and then these things respawn, so you just keep getting them. So even if you don't linger under the water, like, there's a benefit to getting pulled under. Alright, get me the hell out of here. Yeah, that was very mean. Is the portal... Okay, just everything's back. God damn it. What, did the ice hit me? Oh, it was a time over. Yeah, I think I'm missing with some of these. If you can just get in the right spot, he's like... You can kill him almost immediately. I'm just, like, doing a really bad job of it. There we go. Get me the hell out of here, please. Oh. It's pretty creepy. Alright, that's it. Oh wait, no, not quite. But we're getting close. Ow. What? Yeah, you know, I played the PS2 Harvest Moon back in, like, high school, and that I actually did get into, so I'm not really sure what the difference is. Or maybe it's just a timing thing. I go through, like, genre phases. Like, I've been on a... kind of the opposite, where, like, I've been more interested in playing, like, hardcore action games that are demanding. I guess that's my way of coping with the isolation or something, or because like I've also been struggling with career stuff for a while, so like it's I guess I get some sense of achievement out of doing these like harder games. Oops. Well, I stumbled my way through that, but I'll take it. But I just finished platinuming Death Stranding, which took 150 hours. And now I'm playing this and Vanquish. And I think after that I might kind of be up for something a little more chill. Whoa, what just... I guess something was just flying in from off screen. It's kind of a bummer because I had an option. Those are hard to get. Oh well. I don't need it. Okay, speed is the thing here. Up. Yeah, I love Platinum. They're probably my favorite modern developer. Treasure is probably my favorite developer, but they're not really doing much lately. I think it's just one dude now. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about Wonderful 101. I missed that one on the Wii U. And I always felt bad about it. There it is. And then you don't even have a boss here. I feel like that's very fairly balanced difficulty. Like, it's just a hard stage to get through. Okay, this is the last stage, and it's a doozy. Because of this guy... this is the only stage that's really like a boss rush, and it's only like 3.5 bosses, but it's pretty tough. And this guy, man, like this guy alone, I feel like he takes a different number of hits every time. Yeah, Sin and Punishment. Sin and Punishment 1, which was N64, that's among my favorite games of all time. And then 2 is also awesome. I just wasn't that big on the Wiimote, and I feel like at least the final boss can only really be fought with the Wiimote. It was fine. I mean, it was really good. It was just, I couldn't bring myself to play the Wii, like, regularly, you know? I resented the fact that you had to change the batteries. That might sound really stupid, but, like, in an age where we've had rechargeable controllers on every other console for, like, years, it was just a hard sell. So, okay. I might save Scum a little on this level just for the sake of that, because, like, see, the other problem with this guy is that he saps your time. Unless, I mean, there's got to be a way to do this faster. Okay, I think the kicks might be key. I'm gonna go ahead and save. Because I'm worth it. Okay, how do you do that again? Gah. Okay. Time to fight Brian. Ugh. Okay. Ugh. All right. Final boss. And he's a doozy. Well, he's got 2 forms. You have to become evil. I like that he sees himself as evil. Ow. Alright. This run is probably a wash. Okay. This is cool though. Look, oh man. Oh yes, I can reach. This is all I need. Yeah. Game beaten. If you don't have enough power-ups to reach him from there, it's like a completely different fight. And it sucks. Well, I feel accomplished. Check that out. That like teleport splat effect. Like Mega Man does that, Strider does that on the NES. That was like their favorite effect back then. It looks cool. I still think it looks good. And that's Street Fighter 2010, the final fight. Highly underrated game. It's very good. You know, it's like I always feel like good action games don't really age that much because you know, the action mechanics themselves haven't like the things that make a good action game in 2020, it's 2020 now, in 2020 like aren't really that different from what made a good action game in 1990, you in this game's case. And it's got lots of other Capcom dynamite from this time, the crazy weird art and the soundtrack is pretty unconventional for them, but I still think it's really good. I'm curious who did the soundtrack for this game. It doesn't seem like there's credits. But thank you guys for watching. Anyone who doesn't already, if you want to follow this account, I'm trying to stream more. It definitely helps motivate me to have an audience. I do a lot of retro stuff. I'm big into the Japanese Sega Saturn library and also the Genesis. But I also do modern stuff. I just got finished platinuming Sekiro and then Death Stranding. Those are the two only games I've ever platinumed. It's sort of a new obsession, but yeah, so a pretty wide range of things. I really like action games, and I speak Japanese, so I try to offer insight there whenever relevant. And I used to work at Capcom, so I try to offer that insight as well whenever relevant. Check me out on Twitter. I'm at LacquerLeaks, lacquer as in lacquerware, and then leaks as in WikiLeaks. And yeah, tweet about games a lot. I'm also on Tumblr. You'll find that if you look at my Twitter. And open to requests for games to stream if you want to see other NES games or pretty much any other system that was widely available. I can probably figure out a way. I have an OG Xbox that has a bunch of emulators on it as well, so I can do arcade and even GBA stuff. And that's me. Thank you guys. I will try to stream more because I quite like it. But I think that's going to be it for me now. I might crack open a beer and enjoy this Friday weather from indoors. The window's open. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys again.